All right, back at it. Another episode of More to It podcast, and it's our breakdown of the Purdue game. And it is later in the week. We've had to make some adjustments. That's what the great ones do. You adjust. Corey was at the Chiefs-Broncos game Sunday night, so I was not able to get over here. And he was actually in Kansas City on Saturday, too, so we couldn't record right after the game. But we're recording on a Tuesday afternoon, a lovely Tuesday afternoon, December 8th?
Yep.
And the weather is fantastic. Played a few golf holes today.
36 is not few, Jay.
No, you can't get 36. As much as I'd like to, you can't get 36. There's just not enough daylight. Since we're recording on a Tuesday, it is Big Red Wrap-Up tonight. I'll be recording in a matter of about 3.5 hours. So join me, Michael Severe, on NET, Nebraska's PBS and NPR stations for game highlights and analysis on Big Red Wrap-Up. Tuesday nights live at 7 on NET World and Facebook, and at 10 on NET. Okay, so we finally get to talk about a win in person. The Penn State we had to do via Skype. Not as good, but that was a game I expected Nebraska to play well in and win, and they took care of business. And you feel good about it. There's some things you can discuss, but overall, I look at it, there's a ton of positives you can take out of this. I mean, you can try to nitpick things, and I know this is our job to nitpick things on podcasts, but this is not a great football team, but you have a chance to finish the season 4-4, and you win on the road against
a weird season.
A weird season. A very weird season. But but you took care of business, and Purdue was. I know they're short some few players. I understand that, but you had Rondell Moore, you had David Bell,
studs.
You had majority of their best players were playing, to my knowledge, and you go on the road on their senior day, and you take care of business, and it got uncomfortable for a little bit.
It is a Husker game.
It is, yes, 1,000%. They always have to be uncomfortable. I think the last non-uncomfortable was Maryland last year. I'm like, I don't even know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can relax. It's like 8 minutes left in the third quarter. This thing's done. Like, I don't know what to do with my hands.
Don't jinx it. Man, we do have a game this week. I don't care how many COVID cases they have. We still got to play.
Yeah.
Football gods are right next to the golf gods. You know what happens when you say something about your golf shot.
I know. I'm fully aware. But it was fun to watch. It was fun to see offense play well. Fun to see the defense make tons of stops and play well. And did you watch the game in Kansas City, or did you watch it in Lincoln before you left?
I watched it in a bar in Kansas City down in the plaza with 3 other Husker fans, and it was awesome. I forgot the feeling of winning football in a bar, screaming at a TV with a bunch of people who don't know who I am. So it was really awesome. It was a really great time.
Don't judge us.
And of course, I'm usually watching it with someone like you or another former teammate where we're just breaking down the X's and O's. None of that. The only X's and O's is when's the next Bud Light coming. And I had a good feeling the whole time. I think I'm a little bit more positive than you this week, just because those little instances that we usually go the other way on, we responded, and that is exactly what we talked about last week. Maturity, getting past those situations, being over to outplay those type situations, and we did. We did a great job.
We always were joked before. There's always certain instances in games, in close games, where Nebraska has lost in the past. And you're like, uh-oh. You look back and you're like, that's going to bite us in the ass. Mm-hmm. And I look back. We've played a solid first half. The defense gets a 4th and 1 or 4th and 2 stop. You're like, whoa.
Big TFL.
That's big time.
TFL.
That's big time. You're like, I think there's maybe 40 seconds left. And I'm like, maybe they can get the ball down the field, steal 3 points. Offense just kind of sputters. There might have been some penalties.
Poke it an 89-yarder if you really wanted to. So we just probably just kicked that right on first down.
Having a kicker. Remember last year how bad it was not having a kicker?
I blocked it from my memory, but if you.
But he's been money this year. Only missed one kick. Knock on wood. But you look at. So the defense makes that stop, and then you're like, all right, let's try to get some points, and then we go 3 and out, and then they have the block punt, and that was that.
Thought I was watching a rerun.
Yeah, well, that's 1,000% on the punter, and get it off, dude.
Go.
Like 1-2 step kick that thing. He took way too long. Like, I'm not a special teams coach or a special teams pretend to be a special teams guy by any means, but that thing needs to get off. You know they're bringing the heat, but he kicked it right into the dude. The dude didn't even like try to block it. He kicked it into his face. 1-2 step kick that. You get 30 yards out of that punt, they don't get 3 points.
That's right. Interesting way to kick a ball off someone's face.
Right.
Never tried it, so I'm not going to knock it too much, Jay, but that was a big turning point. But we responded, held them to a field goal. Defense did a great job. Sudden change, man. I mean, look at the result. I mean, there was some statistic. I remember Bill Bush, who's now down at LSU, telling us this. If you block a punt in a game, whether it's for a touchdown or not, the odds of you winning that game increase by like 60-some%, maybe even more than that. So right when we blocked that first punt, I go, whoa, breeze time, baby. I remember the stats from Bill Bush in 2004. And then they blocked one of ours. I go, oh, no, here we go.
But that's the moment where you're like, oh, man, those 3 points are going to kill us. But then we get the ball second half, we come out and get points right away. You're like, okay. Like, all right, I feel a little bit better. And then but obviously David Bell, great catch with David Bell, but our two players run into each other.
But they're right there. They're both trying to make a play on the man and the ball. That's what you ask for out of your DBs. And, it's just like trying to catch a center, like a pop-up in center field. You almost got to call the other guy off, but it doesn't exist in football. So they run into each other, they get a big play. That's okay. That kind of stuff happens. That's not a mental error. That's not a physical error where they just can't make the play. It just happened.
Yeah. Those are the two instances where you're like, oh God, this is going to get uncomfortable, isn't it? It's just what happens when you're just not there yet. Your wins come tough, and your losses are tougher. Like
Was that a tough win? Would you define that as a tough win?
Like it was pretty convincing. Because beside those two plays, those are 10 points. What final score was 37-27, right? Right. So you take away those 10 points and it's 37-17.
3-score win.
That's an ass kicking.
Yeah.
But 37-27, like, oh, maybe it was close. If you don't watch, like, oh, probably a pretty close game. I don't know if it ever was like, it ever felt that close. When he made that catch when he goes for 89 yards, I'm like, okay. I think that cut it within the 7. I'm like, all right, oh God, that's just the nature of it, and just what we've been through. It's like, how are we going to screw this up? Well, we've found numerous ways to lose football games.
Let's find a way to win.
But we did,
and we did,
and we just our composure was there. We can kind of dive into this more, and like that's the beauty of having a third-year quarterback in Adrian Martinez.
I had to blink a couple times, thought it was the Seltzers, but I couldn't tell what quarterback was out there. He looked so crisp. He must be the one person listening to this podcast. So we talked about tempo and how Luke McCaffrey is. He goes, maybe that Jay Moore is onto something. So now he starts playing with better tempo. He's connecting better. Guys are open. He's making the short throws. There was the touchdown throw just right on the goal line on the very very good creative play right on the money. It feels like those throws before you're wasting 2 or 3 steps as a tight end or a wide receiver because he's not putting it where he needs to. None of that. And that 13-yard touchdown run, that looked like Corey McKeon in high school. I couldn't believe it.
I don't.
Wow, did I give him my game film?
God. This is a Tuesday afternoon. I just figured Corey had been drinking since noon, but
no, I'm just in a great mood.
Jeez.
I'm a Chiefs fan now. Bears are gone.
But I did Hail Varsity's radio show. I was on there as a guest on yesterday afternoon, and they talked about Adrian's demeanor and him able to bounce back from being benched. And I said, you know what? I go, was he ever playing bad? I don't think he ever was playing poorly. He made the one bad throw against Northwestern to Austin Allen for the pick, and that's what got him pulled, and you bring Luke McCaffrey. But I think we rushed a little bit because Northwestern is a phenomenal defense, and they make you earn everything you get, and then you start Luke against Penn State, and obviously Luke plays well, and then you have the Illinois shit show dumpster fire to where Luke did not, obviously no one played well. But Adrian did come in and look halfway decent for a couple series. But I'm like, he never was bad. And it was like he hasn't got. I mean, he has gotten better, but he was never like so far off that he's turned into a new QB. I just think that just speaks to his maturity, his focus, and just being a third-year starter.
Yep.
And
mental toughness.
Yeah, he's just stepped up, and I said this on the radio show yesterday. I go, in today's day and age, if that's I don't know if it's anyone else, but it just seems like there's more kids that would say, screw you, I'm taking my ball and I'm going home.
Yeah. What's Colorado State doing right now?
Right. What's, because with
transfer
with this being a free year, you can kind of get a free transfer anymore. I mean, I don't know what academically where he's at through 3 years, whatever, but you could just say, hey, I'll go somewhere else. You don't want me here, let Luke do it. I'll take my talents and get 2 more years wherever at who knows where, Kansas State. I don't know. I'm just rattling off teams off the top of my head. But obviously being voted as a team captain, you got to keep your composure.
Mm-hmm.
And he never, I have not talked to him, but it just seems like he hasn't gotten down. He stayed engaged and everything. And he was only one play away. And I think we talked about it, the Luke McCaffrey was an experiment. You tried to get something going. The offense was very stagnant and couldn't get going. You tried something. It kind of worked against Penn State. It definitely didn't work against Illinois. Then you put him against Iowa, plays well against Iowa, plays really well against Purdue, and you're like, and Luke McCaffrey, I don't think.
Let's put it to bed.
Right.
Let's just leave him as the starter. He's earned it for now,
100%.
Unless something else really happens. But I don't know if you and I talking about this, Jay, but as a player that I've coached, as a commentator on football in general, you're kind of like, if you're Scott Frost, who I've been pretty tough on, you're kind of like a mechanic. It's like something's wrong with your car. You can't figure out what it is, so you've got to switch some stuff up. And if that's not it, now let's try this. And that could happen everything from the scheme to the individual player to the player's mentality. There's a lot of different things. So him coming out and going, well, let's see if it's the quarterback that's the problem. Okay, that's not it.
Yeah.
Let's find out what else it is. Oh, it's everything else. Now it starts to make sense.
Right.
So you could kind of check that one off. And especially the way, you saw on all the social media, the big speech that he had before the game. I mean, I just had a lot of respect for him after that. So with him bouncing back after seeing that and staying engaged, there's still a great player under there.
Yeah.
He just has to figure it out.
I mean, not surprising that you're getting this performance out of Adrian just because of what we've seen from him, the maturity. Not surprised at all. I just said, in today's day and age, it just seems like kids, they're not willing to work through adversity, and they want to be given things, and they want to, they want to hand the keys of the car and not earn the money for it to buy it themselves.
That's right.
And it is what it is.
It's everyone else's fault afterwards.
Right. Correct. Yeah. So good on him, because he's a hell of a football player. You had that run on about that third. It looked. He was sacked, and I'm like, whoa. That was nice. That was very, very impressive. And the offense rolled. And we got to, and everyone took turns on bagging on Cam Jurgens and his snapping and trying to figure out the issue. Homeboy was perfect.
Talk about another step forward.
Yeah.
This game showed a lot of that because, man, mentally he could have gone either direction too. Mm-hmm. And look at that. Comes out and performs. Now, Purdue, obviously not the strength of the team that we're used to seeing.
Great.
But still, you need to play teams like that.
That could be one thing to where, Iowa's D-line's really, really good. And, you could be worried about certain things. And maybe he was asked to do a few more, was asked to do maybe too much against Iowa in their D-line to cause some of those poor snaps. But Cam was money. We didn't have any issues. I think Nebraska, they said that one poor handoff, I think it was between Adrian and Dedrick. Yeah. Other than that I think because
no turnovers.
There was there was 0 turnovers. And that just, again, speaks maturity. You take coaching. You don't overthink it. You don't get too down on yourself. You don't listen to us. You don't listen to everyone else on social media. Hey, you got to move him to guard, or you got to do something else. No, he got better, and now again, I just hope, and we've spoken of this, when you get something good, can you build on it? Can you keep turning into, okay, that's one game of perfect snaps. Now can you do it 2 games? Can they do it perfectly against Minnesota? Can you do it perfectly against this crossover game? Can you do it perfectly potentially in a bowl game. And
stack games, stack practices. You can't take a step backwards. The whole O-line, we sat down here and really went after him, and they looked a lot better. I mean, started with the snaps.
Yeah, I mean, the snaps is one thing. I mean, that's just period in offensive football is a snap. But the O-line, I mean, they protected well. I don't think Purdue has any. I mean, Purdue has produced a ton of good NFL defensive talent, first rounders and second rounders, and I can't speak to any other guys on there. I'm like, but you play well against what's put in front of you, and they did. I mean, I just look back to that protection they had. I think Adrian had about 5 or 6 seconds. I think he found Wandell over top for about 15, 20 yards. I mean, he had all day to throw. I just remember him being, totally threatened.
There's like 2 plays where he did a little bit of a hurry.
And that's going to happen.
Coverage sacks.
Yeah, those are going to happen. But overall, I mean, I don't know if this is the best game the O-line's played. It wasn't their worst game by any means. But when you get the great snapping and you get the O-line play is improved, it's just
in a unit. They played like a unit.
You just looked. I mean, it was offensively. It was crisp. I mean, it was 364 yards.
But let me go back just 1 second.
Go for it.
You made me really think of something. So, and then you just brought it up. So 364 yards. So if you sit down and you say, okay, Nebraska, the O-line, the offense played really well. How many yards do you think we have to put on the board to really say that they're executed?
In today's day and age of college football,
Scott Frost's offenses, the history,
I would say over 400.
I'd say it's 450. Big plays. We're not getting the big chunk plays. We had a few. Some really good ones, but those plus 20s, plus 25s, those are where you're going to see numbers that high, and we're just not there yet. But I would rather have a team that could grind to get 350 in a win that doesn't need 500 and big plays to win a game.
Yeah, they did. They grinded it out. I mean, 364 yards total on 71 plays, average 5.1 yards per play. The biggest
games.
I mean. No turnovers, perfect snaps. Offensively, they were on point. They looked good.
Creativity through the roof. Got Robinson the ball.
Yep. Yeah, Dedrick Mills get back.
Very helpful.
They did some good things in the red zone. They got points. We've already spoken about Connor Culp. Nice addition he has. The guy's been money. Like I said, he's only missed 1 kick. And that was at Northwestern.
That's a big. I mean, having a kicker is such a weapon.
Well, I think that just forces. I think last year Nebraska was so poor in the red zone because they didn't have a kicker.
And think about if you're Frost or you're the old coordinator and you've got that leg behind your offense, then it takes a lot of the decision making, the hard decision making out of it. Because if you're looking at a 43-yard field goal, you're not worried about it.
Right.
You're not worried about it. Or when you have a defense playing like we are, you want to go for it on 4th. I got a great defense holding people to -2 rushing yards. I'll go for it every time. I'm not worried about giving them extra possessions.
Right. Well, having that insurance policy as a good kicker is such a. I mean, that's something to have in your back pocket because
I knew I should have been a kicker, Jay. You blame my parents and my body size.
Yeah, you don't
and my
be a kicker.
No foot or leg.
Look, I like a lot of kickers. God dang. Kickers in practice.
And long snappers, Lane Kelly.
Yeah, Lane, are you listening? Those guys in practice, I mean, come on. They practice for literally, they do their goofy games, and they literally practice for, 30 minutes? They do some stuff before, and they have, special teams periods are like 30 minutes total. And then I remember those videos they used to put together for us.
I don't think anyone knows about those, and I would love to find them.
Real.
Oh my gosh!
Because that was before our junior. Did that before my senior year?
That was when Sam Cook was.
Yes.
And he
was mic'd up.
He would hold on. Yeah. He would practice and the scout teams. Remember?
Yes.
So it wasn't unusual for him to be around. I love Sam. He's one of the hardest hitting punters in NFL history. The dude's All-American stud, still playing,
still kicking.
But then he would go and play while the other guys like Lane Kelly went inside to hit the cold tub and watch TV. He went and played like scout team wide receiver because he wanted to be in the mix. But then go ahead.
Yeah, he would be mic'd up.
Unknowingly,
you wouldn't know, and you just catch. I mean, in practices, and I mean, any college football, professional, you talk about some of the craziest things. You talk about, God, who knows, the parties the weekend before, who so-and-so you might have hooked up with, how that went, how so-and-so
How
said,
shitty one of your teammates is playing
right,
that day,
right.
ripping on them.
You think you're, it got to a point where you were afraid to talk to anyone. And Sam, once we picked up, like, Sam was a guy, you're like, all right, where's Sam at? Like, stay away from me.
And
I'm not talking to anyone.
Just so everyone knows, this wasn't like some scheme to get someone in trouble. They would play it.
Yeah, they would
for the whole team.
They would play these. So, like, you always have your highlight pump up tapes on, like, Friday before, like, after you always go to a team. We'd always go to a team movie on Fridays, and you kind of come back. You'd have your normal O&D meetings. You'd have your dinner. No, we'd have dinner before we went to the movie. But you come back every meet. Then we have our, then we have the meetings. Go to the pump up tape. It was a comedy reel.
It was a chance to relax.
Yeah,
before
guys
got
like
intense.
loosen up, and then you'd have your snack afterwards. But you'd have guys just talking.
Snack 6 chocolate chip cookies.
Snack, like, give me like 3 grilled cheese. Like,
is that filet? I'll take a couple 4 ounces.
Oh my gosh, the amount of food that. I still eat a lot of food now.
Yeah.
But oh my gosh, those tapes. Oh, those.
But what they did too, Jay, is they didn't just start it with the first week and then run it, because then everyone would know. So they did it for weeks before they started putting it on.
Hiding.
And there were some people that were nervous. Josh Mueller. Yeah. What was the quarterback's name who was a moron that went to NC State?
Oh, yeah, Harrison Beck. Yeah.
They kept getting him because he was such an asshole.
Yeah.
He had the best comments, and they were pretty good. You're like, what happened to Harrison
We
Beck?
got to find those. I got to figure out. They got to be around somewhere.
Oh, they're around.
We got to get that.
Oh, my God.
We got to get our hands on those. Those are too good. Anyways,
Josh Mueller's shaking in his boots right now, thinking that they're going to surface.
This has gone off the rails. I have no idea what we're talking. We're talking about kickers. That's what we were talking about. But no, because that's what it came down to. So those kickers, then I remember one of those videos. They were showing on those videos these games they would play in the locker room while we were out practicing,
sweating,
where we were working our balls off, and they're in the locker room playing some game where you threw footballs into a flipped upside down locker chair, and I'm just like, what?
You got to be kidding me.
Yeah, I'm like, what is going on? So, God, we gotta get those. We gotta get our hands on those. Okay. All right, let's get this thing back on the rails. So, as best as possible here.
It's a Tuesday,
it is
not
Tuesday.
A lot of focus.
I know, it is. But so we spoke offensive, like, they did their job. Defensively, again, you made this team one-dimensional. You look at -2 rushing. I know. Illinois. Purdue. It wasn't like they're playing Wisconsin by any means.
Right.
But in this day and age, you hold a team to -2 yards rushing. And I said, now to make a team one-dimensional is what you want to do, and they did. And literally, Purdue had 334 yards total, and so that means they had 336 yards in the air.
Yeah.
And 90 of them came to one play.
In one play. So the stat, for the quarterback, it doesn't look sexy for Nebraska. It looks really good for Jake Plummer. 33 for 47, 334 yards. So if you're looking like a Texas Tech team, that looks great. But when you go look at their rush yards, he had to carry them.
Mm-hmm.
Without him, they've got no offense. They've got no answers to the Black Shirts. Just very happy. We got to the quarterback 3 times with no blitz. Just a standard pass
and a lot of times with 3 guys.
And that is a big step forward.
Yeah, it's huge. That was big time. And being able to get to rush the passer and get home with 3 guys, that is good. That is good. You had to do that because overall, again, besides Bell's 1 catch, we held Bell and Rondell Moore to not a ton. It was a lot of checkdowns underneath.
Big time NFL
100%.
talent.
And a lot of checkdowns underneath routes where, like, Rondell Moore broke a few tackles. That's what he's going to do. He's really good. He's dynamic. But they did a great job of bracketing, of jamming them. They weren't letting them get any free releases. You disrupt that timing, and that's what you got to do against big time receivers. You got to get hands on them. You can't let them run free off the line of scrimmage. You got to try to check them, whatever you can, just to disrupt the timing, disrupt their motions, their patterns, their spots that they're trying to get to, and they did it, and it was really, really good, and it was, they did what defense. They they got 4th down stops. They did what they had to do. You made them one-dimensional, and you didn't have a ton of stupid penalties. I think they had the one late hit, and they got like 30 yards in one play.
Stupid penalties? I think we might have broken a record for yards and penalties between the two teams.
They did.
200 and some yards, 222, something like that?
Yeah, like,
jeez.
Not all
get
penalties
benched for that.
Well, the one they got 30 because I think Tanner got one, Caleb Tanner, then I think it was Deontay Williams. It was but like penalties are gonna happen, and not all penalties are created equal because also it's timing, right? Like you get a holding caller in the game or whatever, like, but it's the penalties when you get a first down, you get a big play, you get a touchdown,
extend drives, end drives, man, those
are the ball busters.
You want to look at, I don't want to look and see a 1st and 20 for our offense yet.
No, we're not.
Yeah, like for Ohio State, that's nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. We'll get 13 on 1st down. We'll get another 6 and run the ball. Nope.
Yeah.
Then they'll get a 3rd, and maybe they'll take a shot or get the 1st. But I'll tell you, we're not there yet where we can shoot ourselves in the foot and battle back.
Yeah,
we just can't do that.
Offensively, they did their job. Again, they played well. They played really, really good. And you did your job. You got to win. They got to win.
You think they're getting some familiarity with everything, and they
I
turn
do.
in the corner? We talked about that. Turn the corner, or do they feel like they're winners yet?
They've only played one poor game. That was Illinois. And I think people want to point fingers at Chinander's style of the 3-4, and I've played in the 3-4, and the 3-4 I've played in is vastly different from what the 3-4 they play in. But it's more similar to what Wisconsin does in their 3-4, and obviously Wisconsin's what they've done in the 3-4 in the Big Ten has been very, very successful.
Mm-hmm.
And you just got to get comfortable with it. It's just we've had these guys who have been a part of this defense haven't had a ton of snaps in this. This is obviously the 3rd year, but it takes time. Like it's different. Diaker runs a 3-4, and those guys were there. It's different from that.
Mm-hmm.
So verbiage is different. It's just,
man. I think back. With the talent that we had in our days, Jay, a 3-4 would have made a lot of sense.
I think we would have been
a whole different defense.
We could have ran a 3-4 my senior year without a doubt because you could have moved. And it's always funny.
Where to put you though? D-end or stand up?
No, I'd have been outside. I think
you would have been the one. Then.
I think Stu and I would have been outside linebackers.
Yes.
I think you could.
That would have been perfect for Stu Bradley because he just tried to blitz every play anyway.
You put Ola, Shade, and Ola wasn't the biggest, but you put him Shade. He had Barry Cryer, Adam Carricker as the ends. Me and Stu could have been the outside guys. You and
Steve.
Barrett, Bo, and then Lance could have been the inside guys. Mm-hmm. And you know what? Honestly, I probably would have, because who's backing us up though? That's the biggest thing. Barry Turner could have played a stand-up outside guy.
Oh, he would have been.
Yeah, he'd been fine. But who's backing up Stu?
He doesn't get any plays off.
The guy gets hurt all the time.
Fine, I'll do it.
No, you could not have done it. You're too short.
Oh, none taken.
You couldn't have done it.
Damn it.
I think actually Bo would have been a good outside guy.
Yeah. I mean, the
balance
of rushing the pass.
You and Lance inside have been good. Bo could have done it inside. Steve would have been good. I think Steve would have been better inside. I think you had to move Bo out
because of his length.
But that takes a really good player off the field.
Right.
He's too good not to play.
So if you look at how they're playing it now, that would be a completely different strategy, just what we're talking now, because that would be a true 3-4 because you've got the size, the talent to do it. But, these outsized guys that are standing up, they're just not.
Well, in Nebraska's, what the 4-3 they're running now I always call it the Belichick New England Patriots style, where the 3-4 I've played in, you have a 5-man front. You have 3 down guys and 2 outside linebackers in two inside linebackers. They do more of a 4-man front with 2 down guys,
Right.
3 stand up, or 2 stand up, and sometimes the other outside guy also puts his hand in the dirt, so it kind of looks.
Who are they trying to fool? I mean, what are they trying to do with it?
I don't. I haven't
still
been a
count.
part.
You're still counting on the right side of the center.
I
You're still counting on the left side of the center, whether
I don't
they're
know.
standing up or not.
I don't know. I've not been a part of New England's, or even when like Parcells ran it with the Cowboys.
I'll call Belichick.
Okay,
we'll
you call
see
him.
what he says
Okay.
about it.
I don't know. My Wade Phillips. It's a more of a Wade Phillips style for me. Is when you have 5 guys up there, and obviously you're going to have your outside guys. You're going to be able the guys who are dropping. You're going to have to come out in coverage. You're going to have to cover in the slot. You have your close side rules where if you have a back go outside or a tight end goes, the only guy the opposite end of a slot, you have to go out and cover him man to man. So that's a whole nother like podcast X and O's whiteboard issue if you want to get in all that stuff. But like the guys are adapting to it, and I can't say it's great, and I can't say it's bad. Like I think they're making it work.
Stats make it look pretty good. But
they're making it work. Like
I want another shot at Ohio State with this defense maturing over our DBs. I think are very underrated. I'd like another shot to see how they stack up against one of the top.
Yeah. So obviously we're recording this on a Tuesday, and the game has had obviously more than much time to marinate, and we are very late getting to this. But since we are recording this on a Tuesday afternoon, we might as well get into it because the news of the day so far is that Ohio State Michigan game's canceled.
Right.
And then we just saw
postponed, not happening. Right.
It's canceled. They're not even it's done. Looking at it yet. You can't do it. And I also just saw that Purdue has canceled practice this week for some cases. Obviously, we just played them, but they're playing Indiana. But just getting into what Ohio State's now dealing with. So we thought this was going to be an issue. And then all signs point to Nebraska obviously playing Minnesota this week. Mm-hmm. And knock on wood. And I want to get a chance at Minnesota. I know Minnesota,
we owe them a spot.
And Rashad Bateman's not playing. He's sitting out, and he's going to be probably a first-round draft pick. And when you cancel your 2 games, you're like, I'm good. Like,
yeah, not risking it now.
You don't need it. But it's very the Big Ten. It's frustrating because Nebraska tried to tell you when Wisconsin game was canceled in week 2 and early in the season. And should the season have started back in September? Yes. Should have maybe instead of starting October 21st, maybe start 17th to give yourself some more time. But Nebraska tried to tell you like, hey, we're trying to do something to help the rest of the Big Ten out.
We're not being selfish.
We're not being selfish. Yeah. Do we want to play football during football season? Yes. And is there anything wrong for wanting to play football season play a football game during football season? No. So the Feinbaums, the Pat Forties, anyone that writes for the USA Today, you can shove it because you guys are terrible in your takes. Because you're a bunch of hypocrites.
That's right.
Because now Feinbaum ripped Nebraska a new one
Still
for
does.
trying to play, and
did admissions not let him in? What's the problem?
I don't know. He's mad that he doesn't have hair and he looks like a dork. So
we don't have that problem, Jay.
You're right. So he's now obviously he heard his comments on Nebraska, but now he's saying the Big Ten has to find any way to allow Ohio State to play another game.
Unbelievable. No. You want to shut us down at the beginning of the season? You got to shut down your big player now.
Well, here's this is.
And I want him to play. I want him to have another. I want Ohio State in that championship.
If you can find them a Big Ten team, if Purdue for some reason cannot play Indiana, maybe you get Indiana to play Ohio State again somehow, some way. Like you do what you have to do. I think you could say you can allow them to play a Big Ten team, but you cannot allow them to go outside the Big Ten to find a team. You can't do it because that just.
Favoritism, number one.
Well, that just craps on your whole.
It's.
Well, we can all be honest. We all know that Kevin Warren is in way above his head, and the chancellors and presidents for majority of the Big Ten schools never wanted to play, and they wanted to make it as tough as possible. So now they're in a chance to where the Big Ten can make you some money and get you all in the college football playoff and have. The
recruits watching your
whatever,
conference,
all
the Big Ten,
the credibility, everything. And now, your hands are tied. I don't know what else you can do besides trying to find another Big Ten team to come and play, and you're just I don't know how else you're going to shake out other than this looks. I mean, how bad do the Pac-12 and Big Ten look right now because they can't get games in because they started so late?
Yeah, but the people who are criticizing and the people who are so boisterous about it are the nerds that won't let them play in the first place. I say that with a lot of love towards all the COVID people out there who think it's a hardcore thing and all that. But what you don't understand from the outside in is there's more risk for these student athletes not playing than they do playing. Would you agree with that? You are structured, you are in the same
100%.
place, you are getting testing, you are protocols, things are clean, sanitized, and they're controlling it. If there's no football, if they're, bye week, what are you going to do? You just going to lock them in their dorm rooms? You can't do that.
No. Well,
Paul Feinbaum wants to do that.
Right. And most of these kids are out of school. I mean, everyone was done with finals. By the way, how great would that have been? These kids were done with finals around Thanksgiving.
Jeez.
So now they're just
What's
practicing.
A final? I should stop ripping on myself so much on these, or double down on it. One of the two.
But God, they're nice. They're just practicing. I mean, it's like bowl practice. You just practice and you're
There's no
there
pressure.
for 6 hours. And
It's
you
a lot
kinda
more fun.
That was great. It's a lot. I mean, God, it just reminds me. You know what? One of the best college parties just brings. I'm reminiscing more just because I'm kind of done talking about the Big Ten, but and just not having school and you're practicing, but the bowl practices. We don't have to get into major details, but the greatest party I think I was a part of in my college, my 4.5 years in college, was a Christmas party at the Ickes household.
There's a long-standing tradition of a lot of great Christmas parties. So what we used to do is the upperclassmen would throw a Christmas party. And this is before, Jay, let's be clear here. This is before the ugly sweater. I hated that title. It was not a ugly sweater Christmas party. You had to go to your parents' closet.
I rooted. Rooted? That's not the right word.
Rated.
I rated.
Rudes?
Yes. I rated.
It's actually an adjective
Yes,
now.
right. I raided Tom Rude's closet because he had all his clothes from the 70s. And my pants were so goddamn tight, I could not zip up the zipper.
I had to do it twice. It was not. You weren't seeing ugly Christmas hair. You were seeing an actual outfit from the 70s.
No, I had a turtleneck, V-neck sweater, and like the tightest polyester pants on with like
I've got
some loafers.
Hundreds of great pictures.
Tom Rude had the best wardrobe ever for these parties.
Probably still.
He probably still does. Over there in Lincoln, here in Lincoln on 33rd and South. Like,
but people in the back, listen to this. What we used to do is you'd go into these bowl practices. You'd have about 2 or 3 weeks of hard practice.
Yeah.
And we loved the bowl practices.
it felt like
class.
but it's like felt like spring ball over again.
Yeah, but you got to work out.
Yeah,
it was a little bit looser schedule.
Yeah, it was. Well, you didn't have class. Once you got you were done, and then usually you left about 4 or 5 days before the game, but you did it. You practiced. You came in. You had breakfast. Oh, you're pulling up pics. You practice. You have meetings. You breakfast, and then you're done. You're out of there by like 2:00.
Yeah.
And you have the rest of the day.
And you get
yourself.
to rest. You get more time off. Get better health.
It was great.
Guys get healthy. But we used to do it right. Like the upperclassmen would only invite a few of the younger guys to carry it on. And we were just so honored that they even knew our names so that we would show up and really try to bring it. And then it just every year it got designated to a new person, and the tradition just kept on going and going. And you handed it down, we handed it down, and it was just so much fun. It better be. It better be.
No, you guys are still doing the Christmas party because that was.
Yeah, and where's my invite? Listen, Corey McKeon, class of 07. We had a football team in 07? Okay, where's the door?
Oh, God, that was a good time. Man.
Well, it's great because we're getting around the Christmas season, Jay, and all those memories are popping up on my phone. And I'm just thinking, where did I get these freaking great outfits?
I know.
It just doesn't exist anymore. I mean, if you could feel your legs, your pants were tight enough. They were tight enough.
No.
You had to go tighter.
You did have to go tighter. Yeah, it was turtlenecks. It was V-neck sweaters.
Mm-hmm.
It was the tightest polyester pants that you could find, and it was loafers. Like it was penny loafers with no socks.
No, you had to bring it. You had to bring the stuff.
It was Cousin Eddie.
It was Cousin Eddie.
The best outfit
to a
was
T.
Cousin Eddie. If you get a Dickie, it was even better. Those are hard to come
I had
by.
a Dickie one year,
You did?
self-made, little
Oh,
uneven,
okay.
but it looked great. The worst was the rest of the sweater was see-through, so I was just nipping out the whole time with a Dickie on.
That's perfect. That's
Hey,
what you want.
More compliments on that outfit, genuine, than I've ever gotten on anything else I've worn.
Oh, this is what happens when you record a pod about a game that's 4 days old.
And we won.
Yeah, we won. And we talked about the good
Well, you know what
things.
we're wearing next week.
So our plan, we'll get to wrapping this thing up. We're playing next week. Hopefully, I think we're going to watch the game together. We haven't watched the game, and then we'll record right afterwards. And we'll see how that goes, depending on the outcome of the game. We might need to pause.
Okay.
And we might have to pump the brakes. We might have to go get some
4
lunch or
hour
something.
pass. So no Red Bull vodkas during the game.
Oh, no, we can.
I won't be able to shut up.
Oh, that's nothing new.
Yeah, more, if you can believe it.
All right, well, we'll shut this thing down. We got to win. It was fun to talk about. I'll be on Big Red Wrap Up tonight with myself, Michael Severe, Sean Callahan. Join me on NAT, Nebraska's PBS, NPR station for game highlights and analysis on Big Red Wrap Up Tuesday nights live at 7 on NAT World and Facebook, and at 10 on NAT. Thanks for listening again.
Go Big Red, baby.
Go Big Red, and we'll be back this weekend to talk about hopefully another win against PJ Fleck and those pesky Gophers. We're out of here.
A Hurrdat Media Production.